Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Dear viewers, my name is Mehman Abid Ali and I am a faculty for computer science subject in Kaizen Academy. Today I am going to teach you chapter 1 of computer science second PUC, that is typical configuration of a computer system. Before we move on to the chapter, let us see what are the basics. Let us have an introduction. First thing we'll say is, what is hardware? Hardware refers to physical components of a computer which can be seen, which can be felt, and which can be touched. So hardware can be said as physical components of a computer. Second is, what is a software? Software can be said as, you can say software is a set of programs. Okay. Software is a set of programs which is given to the computer to perform a specific task. Now, software can be again divided into two, that is system software and application software. We need not go into the deep, okay, in detail. You have already studied earlier what is a system program and application program. Third one is users. So who is the user exactly? User is the one who uses the system. Okay, users are the one who uses the system. Now the user can be either an end user, or he or she may be an application programmer, or he or she may be a you can be a system administrator. So this is the introduction for the first chapter. Okay, let us move on to the next topic, that is introduction to motherboard. What exactly is a motherboard? You can say motherboard is a system board. Motherboard is a system board, or it is more oftenly called as a printed circuit board, because everywhere you'll be finding the printed board will be printed. It will be written. Everywhere you'll be finding the name of the chipset, the name of the device. So it is often called as the printed circuit board, wherein all the components are directly or indirectly connected to it. Okay, so this printed circuit board which contains all the components of the computer. For example, you can take expansion slots, also known as PCI slots. Okay, then IDE interface, You'll be finding SATA, Enhanced IDE, also known as SATA ports. Okay, floppy disk controllers. Then you'll be finding a processor socket, okay, where the processor will be mounted. You'll be finding a CMOS battery. You'll be finding BIOS. So this will be called as the motherboard. Motherboard, also known as the printed circuit board or the large system board, wherein it contains all the components which are either directly or indirectly connected to it. Directly, these are the components which are already fixed, or you can say built in. Indirectly, through ports. You'll be having several ports, like you have VGA port, then you have sound port, you have USB port. Different ports are there. Through that, you'll be connecting several devices to it. So that will be called as the motherboard. Let us see the next topic, that is characteristics of motherboard. Every motherboard will have its own characteristics. So let us see what are the characteristics of motherboard. The first one is form factor. Now, what is exactly form factor? Form factor refers to the geometry, the dimension, the arrangements and electrical requirements of the motherboard. It will vary from motherboard manufacturer to another motherboard manufacturer. So you can say form factor refers to the geometry, okay, the arrangement, the dimensions, and electrical requirements. So this will vary from motherboard to motherboard. There are different manufacturers of motherboard and all these will vary. Okay, the geometry, the arrangement of resources, as we saw earlier in the first topic. Okay, I drew the motherboard and there we saw the different components. So the arrangement will be varying, it will be different from one motherboard to another motherboard. Then the dimension will always never be the same. Okay, you will be having 6x4 motherboard, 8x4 motherboard, 9x4 motherboard. So it will vary. Some may be square in shape or others may be rectangular in shape. Moreover, the electrical requirements, the requirement of motherboards also will vary. Depending upon the resources you have, okay, it will vary from one motherboard manufacturer to another motherboard manufacturer. The second characteristic of motherboard is chipset. On the motherboard, you'll be finding small chips. Okay, the IC with legs. Now this chipset controls majority of the resources. Majority of resources will be controlled by the chipset. That is the main work, to control and coordinate, okay, the data transfer between various devices and the CPU. Third and the last one is processor socket. Now what is processor socket? Okay, the socket Processor socket is that area where you will be fixing the processor, or also known as the CPU. Now it will be varying, it may be a square shaped processor socket or a rectangular shaped processor socket. If it is rectangular in shape, you will be mounting the processor on the processor socket. If it is a square shaped, then you will be inserting the processor directly. Let us move on to the next topic, that is types of motherboard. Now in total we have 4 types of motherboard. Let us write down. Now here we have the types of motherboard. In total we have 4 types of motherboard, that is XT, AT, Baby AT and ATX. XT stands for extended technology, AT stands for advanced technology, Baby AT stands for baby advanced technology, and ATX stands for advanced technology extended. The first thing what we'll see is processor socket. How will be the processor socket in XT motherboards? It will be LIF, the low insertion force. AT will be having PGA, the pin grid array. Baby AT, because it's a combination of both the extended technology and the advanced technology, so we'll be having a combination of both. And ATX will be having the MPGA processor sockets. What is MPGA? It is a micro pin grid array. Let us see the slots what they had. At that time in XT we had ISA, industry standard architecture. Here we had ISA and PCI both, that is industry standard architecture and peripheral component interconnect, and this was developed by Intel company. In Baby AT also we have both ISA and PCI. In fact, we had AGP also. AGP port is basically for graphics, the accelerated graphics port, which has to accelerate the graphics. Okay, whenever there is a gaming freak or an animation specialist, they will require the AGP slot to insert the graphics card and use it. Here you have PCI, then you have AGP, and even you have the PCI E or X, that is PCI stands for peripheral component interconnect, extended, E stands for extended, and this is also a graphics slot for graphics. It is meant for graphics. Let us see the power connector. Here you had a 12-pin power connector. Here you have 20-pin power connector. Here you have 12-pin and 20-pin both. And here you have 20-pin and 24-pin both. Now here, why do we have this? Power connector basically is used for to supply the power to all the resources or the various items on the motherboard, various resources. So here we had less resources in XT, hence we had 12-pin. Then 80, it was the advanced version, and we had more of devices, hence we had 20-pin. Because baby 80 is a combination of both the XT as well as 80, so we had provision for both the power supply. Whether you can, if you want, you can use 12-pin, or if you want, you can go for 20-pin. Then ATX, the most recent form of the motherboard, wherein all the motherboards are of ATX design now, ATX form factor. So 20-pin or 24-pin power supply can be used. Now why the difference of 4-pin? Here 4-pin is, the extra 4-pin is only for the power supply to the CPU. You didn't have ports here. Ports means the extra ports what you are finding. External devices can be connected through port. Port means it is a socket or an opening found at the rear end of the computer to connect additional or extra devices, like peripheral devices can be connected. So ports were not there in the XT, and then yes, we all started having ports from 80 onwards. Example for all the 4 boards. Here we had Pentium 1 processor, then Pentium MMX, and up to Pentium 2. Motherboards supporting up to Pentium 2 processors were in XT. Then we had 80 motherboard. Here late Pentium 2 processors and Pentium 3 processors. Here in baby 80 we have Pentium 3 processors, and till early Pentium 4, that is up to 1.4 gigahertz. Okay, the board supporting processors up to 1.4 gigahertz in P4 were there, and then later on in ATX from P4 onwards, there we have dual core, core 2 duo, then quad core, and till core i3, i5 and i7. Till the latest core i7 processors, we have the boards which are used are ATX motherboards. This is the explanation for types of motherboard we have. Next topic what we have is components of motherboard. Now what are the main components of a motherboard? Let us see. The first is the CPU, also known as the processor. Processor, or also known as the CPU, is the largest chip which is found on the computer motherboard, the largest chip. It is integrated in the CPU. CPU basically has something called as a clock speed. Now what is exactly a clock speed? Clock speed is that speed of the computer through which you can determine the speed of the CPU. The faster the clock speed, the more the CPU or the processor can work faster. There is a vibrating crystal quartz. There is a vibrating crystal quartz inside the processor. The more faster the clock works, the more faster the CPU speed. Now CPU speed is actually calculated in MIPS or BIPS, that is millions of operations per second, or you can say millions of instructions per second, billions of instructions per second. Okay, it can be, nowadays you can see the speed is more than 1 gigahertz. The speed of the processor nowadays is above 1 gigahertz. So it can calculate, or it can process millions of instructions per second, or it can be billions of instructions per second. It all depends upon the clock speed of the CPU. Second main component of the motherboard is the BIOS. Now what is a BIOS? BIOS is also known as Basic Input Output System. Now BIOS, also known as ROM, is responsible for a few things. The first is the BIOS is responsible for performing a post operation. BIOS will perform post operation. Whenever you switch on the CPU, the first thing will be BIOS will perform post operation, that is power on self test. Power on self test, which will check for those components and resources which were used last time. When a user used the computer system, all the hardware resources are as intact or not. If it is there, then it will transfer the control to RAM. It is going to transfer control from ROM to RAM. Then RAM will search for an operating system, and whatever you have set the priority in your BIOS, accordingly it is going to check for an operating system either in the CD-ROM, or you can say in hard disk, or in bootable floppy, and accordingly it is going to load a copy of the main software program, that is, it can be Windows or Linux, Unix, anything which you have. It is also responsible for installing a bootstrap. You have a bootstrap loader. Okay, it is responsible for initiating a request to the bootstrap loader also, wherein it is going to initiate the process of downloading. Okay, in downloading from the main software program. Well, some more components are remaining. We will continue in the next class. As of now, we will stop here till BIOS. We will resume our video in the next from BIOS. Well, our next third topic is in components of motherboard. We saw the first topic was CPU, and second we saw was BIOS. Third is CMOS. Now what is CMOS? CMOS stands for complementary metal oxide semiconductor. CMOS is actually a small lithium battery of plus 3 volts. What is the usage of this battery? the usage of this lithium battery is to keep your time and date settings up to date. Whenever this battery loses its charge, see, as the time passes by, it will lose its charge from plus 3 volts to 2.8, 2.6, and as and when it loses charge, then the system time and date will not be updated. So to keep it updated, you have to replace this battery. I can show you the battery. The CMOS battery will be something like this. It is like a 50 paisa coin. You can see this is the CMOS battery. The fourth main component is slots, also known as expansion slots. What is exactly a slot or an expansion slot? Slots are meant for expansion, okay, in your computer. Nowadays everything is coming inbuilt. If you take for example P2 or P3, most of the resources were not there on the computer motherboard. So what they had is slots, or also known as external buses. So here slots will be useful to add some cards. Slots will be mainly used for adding cards, expansion cards, wherein you can add resources to the computer. For example, like you can add a VGA card or a sound card, USB card, LAN card, okay. To this you can add and you can start using them, because these were not there inbuilt on the motherboard earlier. Later on, when the days passed by and we had new technology, nowadays everything is built on the motherboard. This will expansion slots will be able, you will be able to expand the capabilities of the computer. Let us see the different expansion slots available. The first is ISA slot. In this slot, you will be able to fix ISA card, also known as industry standard architecture. These are also known as legacy cards or non-plug and play. Legacy cards or non-plug and play. That means you cannot immediately start fixing the card and you can start using the card. Okay, you have to fix the card and you have to configure the system. Moreover, the speed of this slot was around 16 bits only. Then later on, PCI slot also was introduced by Intel company. Speed was around 32 bits. The data transfer speed was around 32 bits. And this is called as a non-legacy, or also known as plug and play card. Now what is non-legacy or plug and play? Plug and play means you can fix the card, fix the screw in the slot, then you can install the driver and start using the card, whichever card you are opting for. Another one slot is PCI Express slot. Now PCI Express also was developed by our Intel company, and PCI Express is for accelerating the graphics. It is similar to the AGP slot, where you can fix AGP card. You have to check the motherboard first before you purchase the card, the graphics card, whether it is a PCI Express slot or it is an AGP slot. Depending upon the slot, you have to purchase the card. PCI Express is comparatively bigger than AGP. Okay, this is the area which requires. AGP is a smaller version actually. AGP is an accelerated graphics board. The work of both is the same. it is going to accelerate the graphics. As I told you earlier, for gaming freaks and for animation specialists, those are engineers with animation, then they'll be using these cards. Then fifth type is RAM slot. That area where you will fix, you'll be fixing the RAM, that is memory modules, will be termed as the RAM slot. This is an example for your RAM. Okay, this is the example for RAM memory module. This memory module, where it will be fixed on the motherboard, that area will be termed as the RAM slot. Now, RAM slot will be either 4 SIM slots or they will be 2 DIMM slots. SIM stands for single inline memory module and DIMM stands for dual inline memory module. Okay, 4 SIM slots means you'll be finding like this on the motherboard. 4 slots will be there. That is, again, you have to place an order prior if you want 4 SIM slots. Generally, it is not that easily available, but if you place an order, it will be available in the market. Or easily available is DIMM slots. 2 DIMM slots will be there. Okay. This was about the expansion slots. So we saw, once again, we'll come back. We'll be going for a recap. You have ISA slot, you have PCI slot, you have AGP slot, you have PCIe or express slot, and then you have the RAM slots. These are some of the slots available on the motherboard. Next component on the motherboard is disk controller. Let us see what is a disk controller. Disk controller, you have 2 types of disk controllers. The first one is hard disk controller and second one is the floppy disk controller. So that ribbon, okay, there is a flat ribbon, there is a cable actually. If we take into consideration the cable which controls the disk, either a hard disk or the floppy disk, or which connects, okay, one end will go to the, okay, either hard disk drive or floppy disk drive, and this end will go to the motherboard. This end will go to the motherboard, one end will be connected to the motherboard and the second end will go to the hard disk drive or floppy disk drive. Now suppose if you are using an IDE, okay, in hard disk you have IDE, Integrated Drive Electronics, also known as ATA, or also known as FRC, flat ribbon cable. IDE cable is also known as FRC cable, flat ribbon cable, also known as ATA, Advanced Technology Attachment. Okay, so here you have the cable. Let us have a look on the cable here. Okay, as you can see here, this is the flat ribbon cable. This is the flat ribbon cable here. Okay, 40 pin cable. This is a wire flat ribbon. Okay, so what happens here is, it will control the hard disk or the floppy disk. Now, in case of hard disk, it will be 39 pin or it will be 40 pin. Generally, it is 40 pin or 40 wire ribbon cable. Here, it will be either 33 pin or it will be 34 pin. One pin here and there, not an issue. Okay. Now, in case of the ID cable or the ATA cable, what happens? You will be finding two ports here, not one, two ports. Okay, that is your flat ribbon cable I am talking about. If you take into consideration the SATA cable, SATA will be a very thin cable which has only two ends. One end goes to the motherboard and the second end will be connected to the device. The device will include the CD-ROM or a CD writer, DVD writer, or any other hard disk. It depends again. So here you have two. You can connect in flat ribbon cable. The advantage is you can connect two devices at a time. One end to the motherboard. The second end will go to either two DVD writers or one writer and one motherboard. One hard disk or any combination. Or two hard disks also can be connected. But the main drawback here is the speed, the data transfer. When the time passes by, technology advances, the speed increases, size reduces to an extent. And here what happened? Here also the cable size also reduced and data transfer speed in the SATA cable. This is also known as EIDE, that is Enhanced ID or Enhanced Integrated Drive Electronics, also known as SATA cable, the Serial Advanced Technology Attachment. This is, remember, this is called as ATA cable, this is called as SATA, Advanced Technology Attachment, Serial Advanced Technology Attachment. Okay, this is IDE, this is called as EID, Enhanced IDE. And nowadays in your mother will be finding hardly one or two ports of ID, hardly one port, because the enhanced ID version which followed very shortly and which took over the ID in the market, now everything will be found, you'll be finding only SATA ports which are up to 6 to 8 ports on the motherboard, which are inbuilt nowadays. After finishing with the disk controllers, the hard disk and the floppy disk controller, let us move on to the next topic, that is known as port. What exactly is a port? Port is actually a socket or an opening found at the rear end of the CPU used to connect external devices to the computer. External devices will be peripherals, all peripherals. Your monitor cable, the RGB cable, you can say, the USB ports, the sound ports, okay. So all these ports, you will be connecting external devices. Whatever is built in the motherboard, the devices, that is not an issue. But what about the devices which are not there on the motherboard? You have to connect them. As I told in the beginning, the definition of the motherboard says, all the devices will be connected either directly or indirectly to the motherboard. So these are the indirect ways of connecting it through ports. Ports, very famous 3 ports are there. Let us discuss about those ports. The first port is the serial port. Serial port is also known as RS232C port or also known as a COM port. COM stands for communication port, okay. Again, used for all old mouses, old modems, they will all use this port. Now, this is already an outdated port, nobody uses it. It is a 15-pin port, okay, 15-pin port. Moreover, the advantage with this port is, okay, the data transfer will be over two lines, that is one for the incoming data, one for the outgoing data. And the drawback, the disadvantage with this is obviously 1 bit of data transfer. Data will be transferred 1 bit at a time. At a time only 1 bit can go. Okay, that is the serial port. Moving on to the second type of port, that is known as a parallel port. Parallel port, you might be finding this parallel port even in today's motherboard inbuilt due to one reason. Only because we are using the dot matrix printer, still this port is existing in the motherboard. So mainly it is the port, the purple color port you'll be finding at the rear end of the computer. It is a 25 pin port, and the data transfer will be around 8 bits at a time. 8 bits of data transfer will be there at a time. And the printer, the old printers or scanners are using this port. Now scanners nowadays nobody is using old scanners, and printer also you are using only dot matrix. The inkjet and the laser, they have their own separate USB port, wherein only the old dot matrix printer will be using this parallel port. The third and very famous USB port. USB port is also known as a universal serial bus. Okay, the first advantage is it is a plug and play port. Now what is plug and play? The plug and play biggest advantage is you can connect a device to the computer, or you can disconnect the device to the computer even though the computer is in running mode or it is switched on. Okay, that's the biggest advantage of plug and play, and you don't have to use any adapter also. Then you can connect 127 devices simultaneously. That is also one of the advantage. You can connect 127 devices, almost all devices. Data transfer speed also is around 12 megabits per second. 12 Mbps is the data transfer speed. Now for USB 3 it is much more. And for example, you can take almost all devices like a keyboard, mouse, scanners, printers, almost joysticks, almost all devices, they will be using this USB port because it has maximum benefit. So these are the three ports what we have discussed: the serial port, the parallel port, and the USB port. Next, let us go on to the types of RAM. Okay, now what is exactly a RAM? RAM, as you all know, it is random access memory, and RAM, the main work of RAM is to store data temporarily. Okay, let us move on to the types of RAM. There are 4 types of RAM. That is static RAM, dynamic RAM, then you have SDRAM, and DDR SDRAM. Static RAM, SRAM stands for static RAM. The main use of static RAM is, the purpose is for caching purpose. Okay, it is used for caching. Now what is caching? Or also known as cache memory. Cache memory is actually an intermediate memory. It's a very fast memory which is located or situated between the CPU and the dynamic RAM or the main memory. Okay, the work is to transfer the data from RAM to CPU and back again, vice versa. So here it does not require refreshing, no refreshing of circuits. Here refreshing stands for refreshing of circuits. You can say inbuilt you have circuits, so it is internal refreshing. What we press F5 on the keyboard, that's not refreshing. Okay, it is refreshing stands for the internal refreshing of circuits. So here refreshing is not required. Okay, coming to dynamic RAM. Okay, dynamic RAM is mainly used for bulk storage. The DRAM or the dynamic RAM, okay, is also known as the main memory, where the data will be stored before processing and after processing temporarily. It will lose its data. Okay, the DRAM will lose its stored data even though the computer is on, power supply is on, it will lose. So it requires a refreshing. Now what is refreshing? Refreshing means again internal refreshing of circuits is required. Here no refreshing. Here the static RAM will hold the data. It is not going to lose the data. Even if the power supply is on, it will not lose. But dynamic RAM will lose its data even though the power supply is on. And hence almost every 1/10 of a second, every nanosecond, okay, you require a refreshing of circuits. Static RAM will lose its contents only when there is a power outage, power fluctuation, okay, power interruption is there in the power supply, then it is going to lose its stored contents. SDRAM stands for synchronous dynamic random access memory. Now how it is different from other RAM? The main difference here is it is synchronized to system clock. It is synchronized. That means whatever is going on inside the CPU will update this SDRAM. Okay, SDRAM will be updated about whatever is going on, and it knows when the next CPU cycle is going to come, so that it will keep its data ready. It will keep its data ready, and hence it is going to reduce the CPU waiting time. If the SDRAM knows in advance the next CPU cycle is going to come, it is going to keep the data ready and is going to supply it to CPU for processing, and hence reduces the CPU waiting time or idle time. DDR SDRAM. Now, what is the difference between DDR and SDRAM? DDR stands for double data rate, synchronous dynamic random access memory. The work is the same. RAM and RAM work is the same, but this will do with double rate. It is, the name itself says double data rate. So double data rate means the work will be more faster compared to SDRAM. Anyhow, SDRAM is nowadays outdated. It is not available in the market. It may be available in the gray market, but very less chances of getting SDRAM. Once DDR has come in the market, DDR version 1, 2, 3 and 4 also is available in the market. That was about types of RAM. Okay. We'll call it a day. We'll be stopping now here, and we will be continuing in the next video. We will continue with the cache memory. Okay. Before we close, I would like to request all the viewers, those who have not subscribed our Kaizen Academy channel, please subscribe for the latest videos and updates, and please hit the bell icon as well. Thank you so much.